Well,
But thank you, Billy. I appreciate that. I do.
You're welcome.
I do.
I'm going to try to stay on course here.
No, we don't have a course.
Okay.
We don't, it's okay. Just go.
I appreciate everything you said because love. So you commented on love thy neighbor, and we all know that I love my neighbors so much. and I say that because we need each other,
No,
right?
absolutely.
I need my neighbors to understand if there's something happening in my house that seems difficult. they know why, because they know us, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to be respectful of family members, but anyway, with that being said, one of the problems we run into is we have a harder time with that, with being able to accept each other, with being able to accept all the different
Nuances.
yes in our world, because there's too much system involved. Okay, so I understand that government is supposed to be here to help protect us, but when you get too much government involved, then we don't get to have those choices. We don't get to love our neighbor. It used to be, if you were struggling with helping to feed your child or get your child off to school or mowing your lawn, your neighbor helped you with those things. And now we don't do that anymore. We're more segregated now than ever, and I truly believe it's because we have too much system involved. There's too much red tape. So
Thank you. Anybody want to add to that? No? Go ahead, Emily. You can.
And I totally agree with that. I think that the government plays a really big role in what you feel comfortable doing, who you feel comfortable talking to. And going back to the neighbor situation that you were talking about, I think that communication plays a big role into that. I think that you might not know what your neighbor, how their character, who they really are, until you go and you talk to them. Because sure, there's a lot of system, there's a lot of segregation amongst people, but if you don't try to get to know that person's not going to go to the effort to try to get to know you.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I want to kind of talk about another part of this, because we talked about ethics and some of the other stuff regarding the big picture. And I know one thing when I was reading about this, because I love to just kind of dive into what other people think about this, right? Because there's so many different nuances when it comes to the greater good, the big picture. And one thing that they talked about is that the outcome matters and not the act. So it's this idea that we focus on the outcome and not some of the details that it takes to get there, right? And that's, also like when you talk about war, when you talk about different things of that nature, but then also I think about homelessness, right? You go to some big cities, they want people to be able to come to the city and it look beautiful and, no people living on the streets. So sometimes the acts that they do to get rid of these people, right, is not always, to me, morally correct. But they're focusing on that big picture. What do you all think about that when it comes to like homelessness and people that are unhoused on the street or anything in that arena?
It's slightly off topic to that question, but this greater good conversation just has been reminding me since you and I spoke about the trolley problem. That's a philosophical, thought experiment. And I think the original one goes like, you're a train conductor. If you keep going straight, there's one person on the rail that you'll kill, but if you flip this switch, the train will take a different route. That person will be saved, but it'll kill 5 other people.
Yeah,
so these are really tough questions, and maybe there's not even a right answer to some of them. Because you're so subjective. Your view might be so different than mine, like what you were saying about love, that there just might not be one right answer for everyone. So for objective morality, if you do or don't believe in that, maybe there's not objective morality, but if we all come together and agree on like one thing, like killing for no good reason is wrong, we can make that an objective moral standard.
Yeah.
Even if objective morals don't really exist.
Yeah. I like that.
we'll never all come together.
Yeah, so how do we do this? Because I think we're an example right here that we can all gather together and have conversation with differing, thoughts and backgrounds. But how do we do it? I mean, because when I think about, and I talk about homelessness because I think it's so important, especially right now, you know, when we're talking about like immigration, you know, different things that's happening right now. You go to cities like Chicago or San Antonio, there's an influx, right, of people who are on the street. I mean, you look at, I mean, I don't know about you all, but I look at the documentaries all the time, and I see it, and I'm wondering, how do we still love people, treat people with empathy and kindness, but then also better our communities, right? Because how do you balance that? How do you do it in a way where it is impacting people in a positive way, but also paying attention to some of those details, which happen to be humans, so. Go ahead.
Talk about homelessness. It's just a sad state that we do have people that are homeless, and we know that they will always be with us. But what is it that we can do, at least individually and collectively, to make a difference for those individuals? One of the things that, for me, for my faith, which I have to speak on, is one of the things that Jesus said. He was talking about the homeless, and no one come to see me. That basic story about that, or I was in prison and you did not come to see me. And so, and this is the time where he's segregating those who do not know him. So I have to speak on, you know, my faith about what he means by that, is that we are supposed to reach out to those individuals in a very powerful and awesome way. And with my faith, if we're not doing that, then I'm not honoring Jesus as well.
How do we do it in a large scale?
So how we do it in a large scale is that all these great minds that we're supposed to have, all those great minds that we have in the world, that's how we come together. But we don't want to come together because we got our little old spot that we desire over anything else.
Goes back to your selfishness.
And we are. We need to learn how to love, respect each other, and we can sit here, like here, we're talking about all these things. We got all these different things that we say, but yet, at the same time, the Christian community, all the other different religion, the commonalities should be that we should be caring about all of us individually, and those that are homeless, those who are in prison. It's an easy thing to do, but we just don't want to do it because we're so selfish about what we want. I have to be honest about that.
And sometimes people don't know how to, right? I mean, do you think that sometimes?
No, I don't think it's that. I can't go with that. No. I get up and go and take a shower because I smell.
Well, some people don't do that either.
Well, that's because they don't want to.
Yeah.
It's because they don't want to.
Well, you know, I saw a story. I'm gonna tell you this really quick because I appreciate what you're saying. I really do. And I love this kind of dialogue. I was reading a story a couple days ago, and there was a young lady that did not know how to properly clean herself when she was on her menstrual, right? Mm-hmm. And people could say, you know, she just didn't. She literally was not taught, right, how to care for herself when she was going through her menstrual, because nobody told her. Her mom passed away when she was young, and nobody had her. So I think sometimes maybe a couple people may not know how to do some things, right, and have to be
absolutely
taught.
And have to be taught. That's the thing. So there's someone who do not know,
right?
Then someone need to step in.
Yeah.
So someone knew that that child was in that position, but no one did anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's the challenges that we have in life. Things that we see, we just say, oh yeah, that child smells, or that person don't know how to count. But what are we doing to reach out to make a difference in that person's life?
And I appreciate you saying that, but I also think that, you know, in a situation like that, goes back to that pride. So if you were to step in and tell somebody, you know, you smell and I want to help you know how to clean yourself, they might take offense to that, right?
If you do
Because
it
they
that
have
way,
pride.
yes.
Well, all right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How
You
would
know what I
how
would
you
do?
Yes, I would love
You
to
know,
know.
you want to know? Okay. Here's what I would do. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize.
No, I love this.
So what I would do, I would come over if it's a child.
never had an accident like
If it's a child, I might have to get down on my knees to her face. Hey, Sue,
Hello.
how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good. I'm glad you're doing fine. Good. What do you like?
Ice cream.
You like ice cream?
Ice cream, oh goodness.
What kind of ice cream do you like?
Pecan praline.
Okay, do you have any money to buy you some ice cream?
No, I don't.
I'm going to give you some money so you can have some ice cream. And you're such a wonderful, beautiful little girl there.
But my mom told me not to take money from strangers.
That's okay. And that's okay. That's okay. And I'm glad your mother taught you well. And I just want to say to you, and so that no one else is going to embarrass you about this, I really want you to hear I'm not putting you down or anything like that.
Oh, God. Here it comes.
I really-
I really did put deodorant on.
So would you please make sure you put some deodorant on? I love you and take care and
Thank
God
you. I
bless
appreciate that. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So what an adorable human being you are. Thank you. I do want to just touch on this, though, because to me, again, this hits a little bit close to home on two different occasions. And I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here and share, because that's what I promised I would do at this table. So one, years ago, I went through a divorce, and I was raising two very young girls on my own, and I was doing it working two jobs and not receiving any support from my ex-husband. And so with that, I had to get food assistance. What I didn't know when I applied and received the beautiful bridge card is that it doesn't cover non-consumables. And so I went to the grocery store and I loaded up on all kinds of things, including deodorant and toothpaste. And I didn't have the money for these things, nor did the bridge card cover these things. So, you know, sometimes you're in a situation, right, where you have to decide whether or not you can afford to buy those things. So that's one situation. Another one is, again, you know, fast forward 15 years, and I now have an adult daughter, and she's living out on her own, and she has a disability and is not earning income. So bless her heart, in this wonderful state of Michigan, she was awarded a bridge card, which is wonderful. And it was during a time when extra money was put on the bridge card to cover food because we were in COVID and there was all kinds of money available. So my wonderful daughter lives off of pizza, and she could eat it for every meal. And so she would use her bridge card and she would go buy her pizza, but she'd never had money to buy toilet paper and deodorant and toothpaste. Now, naturally, of course, I supplied those things for her because I'm now in a better financial situation and I'm able to do that. But again, when you're put in that position, and I'm going to tell you right now, and God bless her, she's not here, because I feel bad that I'm sharing a story about her without her knowing this, but I'm doing this for the greater good. She, if she had $5 and she had to choose between going to McDonald's or buying toilet paper, what do you think she would do?
Yes.
Right? Absolutely. And to be honest with you, so would I, because I can't resist those French fries. But so this is the situation we're in, right? So to have those conversations with, you know, a human about that, to hand them money, if you would have handed me money to go buy deodorant, I might have went to McDonald's and bought my French fries, right? So, you know,
time of year,
yeah. And I don't know, did I get us off topic?
No,
Okay.
no. But I think you touched on a good point, and I want somebody from this end to chime in too. But I think you touched on a good point that you know, I've been impoverished before, right? Where I didn't have a lot of things. And I remember when I got that moment to enjoy the smallest thing that somebody else would take for granted.
Right.
I would do that because it's like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Like going to the movies. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, you know, this was fun. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money when my children were younger. And our tradition was on Christmas to always go to the movies. And that was our thing. And it was like a big deal because one of my son's birthdays on Christmas and we would go. And that was a big deal to be able to take them to the movies, get them all their own popcorn and candy, and we were sneaking a little stuff to them, you know. And, you know, but I just remember that being so rewarding for us. And I think Ms. Mavis is out here. Ms. Mavis used to give us, and she stopped giving it to us. Why you stop giving it to us, Ms. Mavis? But Ms. Mavis used to give us, they're grown now, but she used to give us gift cards to go to the movie, to NCG. And I remember she had no idea how much it meant. I mean, it was like, oh my, because I didn't have a lot of money, but that was something they looked forward to, so I would do all I could to make sure I lived up to that. So when she would give me those gift cards, and that's how that stepping in and helping out, and sometimes you don't understand the impact you have when you step in and help out. But I want you all to chime if you have anything to say on this end down here.
I think, well, the first thing I have to say is, with regards to helping people out, you know, it's winter, and we all see cars go off the road and things like that. And yesterday, maybe not yesterday, sometime this week, I was driving down M30 towards M20, and off one of the roads there was this car who had clearly gone up onto the curb, and like his vehicle was going down, and I was like, holy snap. I was like, that does not look good. And I was like, should I call 911? Is he okay? Like, what should I do? And I was driving, and I was late, and I was like, someone, like, I watched, you know, behind me, and someone turned and stopped, and I was like really grateful. But I think that, you know, sometimes it's those little things, you know. But in that other token, I have a substitute teacher that I grew up with, and she used to substitute teach all the time. She was an older lady, and she used to substitute teach all the time. And her husband and her lived around the corner from me, and for like 3 or 4 winters straight, I swear that man was there every time I got stuck. He must have been my grandfather's age, but every time I got stuck, he just magically came out of nowhere, and he had a shovel into the back of his car, and he was like, "Are you stuck?" And I'm like, "Yes." And like it happened like 3 or 4 years in a row. Like it never happened more than once in the same year, but it happened like consecutively, and he saved me. But with regards to homelessness, I think that as someone who works in the nonprofit arena, I think that services are the answer. I know that services aren't always the answer. Like you said, sometimes the food is stale at food banks, but then we also talked about the bridge card. You know, so I think that, you know, the Open Door is a great place in Midland. The Women's Shelter House is a great place in Midland. You know, and not everybody has these wonderful services, but in Midland we're blessed to have many nonprofits that serve the underserved community. And so I think that nonprofits are definitely a way of helping underserved populations get the services they need at reduced or free cost, that enables them to become better people and take some of the burden off of themselves.
Yeah.
And I really like that you talked about services as well, because I feel like if you're in the space or if you're in the where you're able to give to others, I feel like it's really important to try and do so. Like when you guys walked in, we had 3 of our people from Dow High Leadership standing at the table, all representing a nonprofit, and you were able to check off which nonprofit you'd be interested in donating money to. And I think that something like that, where it's $300 to the one that has the most, that right there is $300 more to an organization that is able to help. And $300 may not seem like a lot when you're looking at a whole bunch of people, but $50 to a family who needs it is a lot more important than $0.
That's true. Thank you, Emily.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And I just wanted to comment on something Jackie had said about stopping for folks on the side of the road. Like if we all collectively did that, how many less people be stuck on the side of the road? Almost none. If there was just one person around to call or get you help, you'd be barely anybody stranded on the side of the road.
Yeah,
Just something to think about.
And I may be a little jaded because I watch crime shows all day, right? So I see someone and I say that could be a killer, right? so I do think about that sometimes, like when I'm helping people, especially if I'm by myself. Like, you know, this one time I try to be a good Samaritan, I could end up in a basement. You know what I mean? So I'm like really cautious of that. So, and you know, actually I was going to get to that and how sometimes some of the things that we want to do that really do collectively help people, right? When do we? It is good for us to use some type of discernment, you know, kind of thinking about, is this, do I need to do this right now, right? Or can I maybe call for help? Call 911. I see someone over there stuck in the road. I don't feel comfortable going over there, and it's unfortunate because we shouldn't feel like that. But I watch stuff all the time where, you know, you have a couple that is pretending to be stranded, and then you end up in the back seat or something, you know, and it's like, you know, so I do think about that, but I agree, Nate. We should help, and if everybody helped, maybe we'll have less people that were manipulative that way.
Just dial 911 on your cell phone, have it at the ready when you get out to
When I get out to save them, just in case, like, okay. Did anybody else have anything? Because we're going to have some audience questions here in a second. Did anybody else have anything? Courtney, go ahead.
I would say just something that when I think about coming back to the topic of the greater good and
Yeah.
society, it's that one thing that we can do. So I think it's like, it was a story of like, I think there was a storm in Florida and there was a billion starfish on the beach or whatever, and they're all going to dry out, and some kids just throwing them back. And I think it was the story of like, this guy comes up and was like, what are you doing? There's a million starfish out here and you're never going to make a difference. And he like chucks one back in the water and was like, it made a difference for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or whatever. So I think there's always something within our power, within our direct community, within our direct neighborhood, within our direct home even sometimes, that you can make a difference with the resources that you have in front of you. And I think whether that's one person or one idea or one bag of groceries, if you need it, that makes a difference.
Yeah, because we let's be honest. I mean, we all have privileges in some way, right? We all have some privileges in some way. I know we talk about privileges a lot, but we all have them if we use them in a certain way, right? If I walk into a room, I may have more privileges than someone else, right?
Absolutely.
They may have more than me in different rooms as well. I want to end really quick with this with you all before we get to the audience. Accepting your greater good is a phrase often used in spirituality and personal development. So, you know, religion, personal development, however different people see it. To encourage individuals to embrace positive change, personal growth, and opportunities for improvement in their lives. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that there are different things that we can use in regards to the greater good to be just better people? And I think it goes back to what you talked about, Nate. You know, if we all just helped in some kind of way, even if it's calling from a distance, you know, to get that help, that's still also helping. And Courtney, you mentioned that too just now. I mean, that small thing that we can do, which can be really big for somebody else, right? How can we apply that thought process to our own lives? How do you personally want to improve? Because we, you know, when we talk, we always, all of us talk about how everybody else can do better, right? What everybody else can do to make the world better, or what they're not doing to make it better. What do we plan to do? I mean, what type of commitment? I know this is the time of year where we make these New Year resolutions. Some of us have already, you know, not done them and stopped doing them. By now it wore off, but how can we commit to being better for our personal greater good, right? Because we can't speak for the collective, but how can you commit to be better?
Yeah, I was going to mention something about what Courtney had said, helping maybe an elderly person with the groceries or calling on the side of the road. Just those little things, they may seem insignificant, but same thing applies. If we all collectively did those things, the world would be a much better place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. What's your commitment?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
what do you-
just be a good neighbor. I think that I would challenge you to, really tap into your own values, right? Think about what it is that you value, what are your true core beliefs, and then how do you connect that to your community around you?
Yeah.